Chosen one. There is a reason you have been understanding things lately that you didn't understand before. There is a reason clarity has been arriving in moments you didn't expect it. There is a reason ideas have been forming in your mind with unusual precision, solutions appearing before you even fully articulated the problems. This is not coincidence. This is not your imagination working overtime. This is revelation. God is revealing the knowledge behind your wealth. Let me explain what I mean by that, because this concept is critical and often misunderstood. Your wealth is not just about money arriving in your account. Your wealth is about the wisdom, the understanding, the discernment, and the insight that will allow you to generate, protect, multiply, and steward resources for the rest of your life. Money without knowledge disappears quickly, but knowledge creates wealth that sustains, that grows, that transfers to the next generation. And right now, whether you've fully recognized it or not, God has been downloading into your spirit the very knowledge that will become the foundation of your financial future. Chosen one, you didn't find this message by accident. You are not here at a random time. Heaven aligned this moment because what is being revealed in you needs to be confirmed. What has been forming in your understanding needs to be acknowledged. And the knowledge that is arriving needs to be recognized for what it truly is, divine preparation for divine provision. I see the version of you that has noticed thoughts arriving that feel different from your normal mental activity. Thoughts with weight, thoughts with clarity, thoughts that feel like they came from somewhere deeper than your own reasoning. I see the version of you that has been receiving and perhaps not fully recognizing what you've been receiving. You have been carrying a quiet sense that you understand more now than you used to, not just in one area but across multiple dimensions of life. Your comprehension has been expanding, your perception has been sharpening, your discernment has been deepening, and this expansion, this sharpening, this deepening, it has not been accidental, it has been intentional, it has been divine. There was a season when you felt confused more often than clear, when decisions seemed complicated, when understanding felt distant, but that season has been shifting. Clarity has been replacing confusion. Understanding has been replacing uncertainty, and this shift is evidence that revelation has been landing in your spirit. I know this because I have lived through the same transition. There was a time when my mind felt foggy about my purpose, my direction, my assignment. Then gradually, without dramatic events to mark the transition, clarity began to form, understanding began to develop, knowledge began to accumulate. And I realized that God had been teaching me things I didn't know I was learning, revealing truths I didn't realize were being revealed, downloading wisdom that would later become the foundation of everything I built. I know what has been happening in your mind lately. You've noticed that you see things differently now. Patterns that were invisible to you before have become obvious. Dynamics in relationships, in systems, in opportunities that you used to miss entirely now jump out at you clearly. You've noticed that decisions which used to confuse you now have a certain clarity to them. Not always perfect clarity, but a sense of direction that wasn't there before, a knowing that helps you eliminate wrong options more quickly and recognize aligned options more easily. Ideas have been arriving without you searching for them. You'll be doing something ordinary, showering, driving, resting, and suddenly a thought will form that feels weighty, important, worth remembering. Not random thoughts, thoughts that feel like they came from somewhere beyond your own reasoning. Have you wondered why this is happening? Have you asked yourself why your mind feels sharper in certain areas than it used to? Why understanding is arriving that you didn't actively pursue? Chosen one, your mind is being prepared for something that your bank account doesn't yet reflect. Your understanding is being expanded to match the capacity you'll need when provision arrives. The knowledge is coming first because knowledge must always come first for wealth to be sustainable. You may have found yourself recently understanding people better than before, seeing motivations that used to be hidden, recognizing intentions that used to be disguised, sensing alignment and misalignment with accuracy that surprises even yourself. This is not paranoia developing, this is discernment awakening. You may have noticed that your vision for the future has become both clearer and simpler, not more complicated, more focused. You're not chasing every opportunity anymore. You're recognizing which opportunities are actually yours. This narrowing of focus is not limitation, it is precision, and precision always precedes powerful provision. I've experienced this myself. There were seasons when I didn't have the resources I wanted, but I noticed that my understanding was growing rapidly. I was seeing things I hadn't seen before, comprehending principles that had previously escaped me, recognizing patterns in success and failure that were suddenly visible when they had been hidden before. At first I thought this was just personal growth. Then I realized it was preparation. The knowledge was arriving ahead of the resources because the knowledge would be necessary to steward the resources when they came. This is not just a message about mindset. This is a prophetic word about what heaven is doing in your life right now. Scripture tells us in Proverbs that wisdom is more valuable than gold, that understanding is more precious than silver. But most people read those verses as poetry. They are actually instructions. Wisdom comes before wealth in God's economy. Not as a nice idea, but as an actual sequence. The knowledge comes first, the understanding develops first, the discernment sharpens first, and then, when the internal infrastructure is ready, the external resources flow. This is why so many people who receive sudden wealth lose it just as suddenly. They got the resources without getting the knowledge. They received the provision without receiving the preparation, and provision without preparation creates chaos, not blessing. But that is not your story. Your story is different because the sequence has been honored, the knowledge has been coming first, the understanding has been developing, the discernment has been sharpening, and now you are approaching the season where the internal preparation meets the external provision. Scripture also tells us that the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and knowledge of the Holy One is understanding. This knowledge you've been receiving has a source. It's not random self-improvement. It's divine download. It's heaven preparing you for what heaven intends to release. If you stay with this message until the end, you will understand specifically what kind of knowledge is being revealed to you. You will recognize the areas where your understanding has grown, and you will see clearly how this knowledge is directly connected to the wealth that is approaching your life. As you listen, chosen one, gently commit your heart. Subscribe so you remain connected to what heaven is releasing through this channel. Not as an obligation, but as a decision to stay aligned with the words that are confirming what God is already doing in your life. Comment 777 as your declaration that you are receiving this word with seriousness, that you recognize the knowledge being revealed and are positioning yourself to steward it well, and comment the city or nation where you are watching from. Let that marker become a flag that says this is where revelation is landing, this is where understanding is growing, this is where wisdom is being established. Stay until the end, chosen one. The revelation builds. What is shared later requires what is shared now. The fullness of this word cannot be received if you leave early, and what you're about to receive is worth every moment you invest. Let me explain more precisely what I mean by the knowledge behind your wealth. Because this is not simply financial literacy, though that may be part of it. This is not just practical information about money management, though that has its place. The knowledge behind your wealth is the comprehensive understanding that allows you to generate, attract, recognize, receive, protect, multiply, and distribute resources in alignment with your divine assignment. It includes understanding of purpose. Why are you here? What are you supposed to build? What problems are you designed to solve? What contribution are you meant to make? When you understand your purpose clearly, you stop wasting resources on distractions. You stop investing time in pursuits that don't serve your calling. You stop leaking energy into projects that were never assigned to you. Purpose knowledge protects wealth because it focuses it, and focused wealth multiplies while scattered wealth diminishes. Many people who struggle financially do so not because they lack income, but because they lack focus. They spread resources across too many directions and wonder why progress feels slow. Purpose knowledge eliminates this diffusion. The knowledge behind your wealth also includes understanding of timing, when to move, when to wait, when to invest, when to conserve, when to speak, when to remain silent, when to pursue, when to allow things to come to you. Most people lose wealth not because they made wrong decisions, but because they made right decisions at wrong times. The timing was off. They invested when they should have waited. They waited when they should have invested. They spoke when silence would have served better. They stayed silent when speaking would have opened doors. The knowledge of timing is perhaps the most valuable knowledge you can possess, and it cannot be learned from books. It can only be developed through spiritual sensitivity, through learning to hear the voice that whispers now and not yet. With authority, you've learned to trust. The knowledge behind your wealth includes understanding of stewardship. This is knowing how to manage what you receive so that it grows rather than depletes. It's knowing the difference between investment and consumption, between assets and liabilities, between what builds future capacity and what merely satisfies present appetite. Stewardship knowledge determines whether wealth stays with you or passes through you. Those who lack it become channels for money that arrives and departs with equal speed. Those who possess it become reservoirs where resources accumulate and multiply. The knowledge behind your wealth includes understanding of people. This is discernment about relationships, knowing who is assigned to your journey and who is not, knowing who can be trusted with access and who cannot, knowing who will celebrate your increase and who will be threatened by it, knowing who gives wise counsel and who gives advice that serves their agenda rather than your calling. People knowledge protects wealth because the wrong relationships drain resources faster than bad investments do, and the right relationships multiply opportunities in ways that strategy alone cannot accomplish. I've watched wealth transfer from good people to predatory people simply because the good people lacked discernment about who they allowed into their inner circle. The wrong advisor, the wrong partner, the wrong friend, any of these can redirect resources meant for your assignment into purposes that were never yours. The knowledge behind your wealth includes understanding of systems, how things work, how industries function, how value flows, how problems create opportunities, how needs create markets, how solutions create wealth. Systems, knowledge allows you to see patterns that others miss, to recognize opportunities before they become obvious, to position yourself where value is being created, rather than chasing where value has already been extracted. Those who understand systems don't compete where everyone else competes. They find the overlooked niches, the emerging trends, the underserved markets. They see where value will be in the future, not just where it is now. And this foresight allows them to position themselves for wealth creation that others cannot access because they cannot see. I've noticed this systems understanding developing in you. You comprehend how things connect in ways you didn't before. You see cause and effect relationships that were invisible. You understand why certain approaches work and others don't. This isn't random intellectual growth. This is revealed knowledge about systems that will serve your wealth creation. Anointed one, this comprehensive knowledge is what God has been revealing to you. Not all at once, but layer by layer. Not in classroom settings, but through life experiences, quiet moments and spiritual downloads that arrive when you least expect them. This knowledge cannot be purchased, it cannot be rushed, it can only be revealed. And it is being revealed to you now because the season of its application is approaching. Let me help you recognize the signs that this revelatory knowledge is being downloaded into your life. Because many people receive revelation without recognizing it as such. They dismiss it as random thoughts, good ideas, or lucky insights. But chosen ones learn to recognize revelation for what it is. One sign is ideas that arrive during quietness. When you're in stillness, early morning, late night, moments of solitude, thoughts form that feel different from your normal mental activity. They're clearer, more complete, more weighty. They don't feel like they emerged from your own reasoning. They feel like they arrived from somewhere else. This is one of the primary ways God reveals knowledge, not through dramatic visions necessarily, but through thoughts that enter the quiet mind with unusual clarity and authority. If you've been experiencing this, you've been receiving revelation. Pay attention to when these thoughts arrive. They usually come in stillness, because stillness is where the voice of God can be heard above the noise of daily life. If your life has no stillness, you may be missing revelation that's attempting to land. Another sign is sudden clarity about decisions that previously confused you. You've been wrestling with a choice, unable to see the right path, and then suddenly the answer becomes obvious. Not through new information necessarily, but through new understanding of information you already had. This clarity is revelation. It's God opening eyes that were closed, illuminating what was dark, making visible what was hidden. When clarity arrives without a clear external cause, something internal has shifted, and that shift is often divine revelation landing in your understanding. I remember experiencing this with a decision that had confused me for months. I analyzed it from every angle, made lists, sought advice. Nothing produced clarity. Then one morning, without any new information, the answer was simply obvious. It was as if a light had been turned on in a room that was previously dark. That was revelation. A third sign is pattern recognition. You start seeing connections you didn't see before. You notice how certain causes produce certain effects. You observe how specific behaviors lead to specific outcomes. You recognize cycles in industries, in relationships, in your own life that were previously invisible. This pattern recognition is not just intelligence improving, it is discernment developing. God is training your eyes to see what most people miss, because the ability to see patterns is essential for sustainable wealth creation. Those who see patterns position themselves ahead of trends rather than chasing them. They recognize opportunities while others are still confused. They avoid pitfalls that others walk into blindly. Pattern recognition is one of the most valuable forms of revealed knowledge. A fourth sign is increased intuition about people. You sense things about individuals before you have evidence. You feel peace or hesitation in relationships before you can articulate why. You know who is trustworthy and who isn't, without requiring them to prove themselves first. This intuitive discernment is revelation about people, one of the most valuable forms of knowledge for protecting wealth. Those who lack it are constantly exploited by those who appear helpful but are actually harmful. Those who possess it are protected from relationships that would drain their resources. A fifth sign is understanding arriving through unusual sources. You read something and it unlocks an insight far beyond what the author intended. You have a conversation and something said in passing becomes the key that opens major understanding. You observe a situation unrelated to your field and suddenly see a principle that applies directly to your assignment. This is God speaking through multiple channels, using diverse sources to deliver revelation tailored specifically for you. When knowledge arrives through unexpected means, the source is usually divine. A sixth sign is growing intolerance for confusion. Things that used to feel acceptable now feel frustrating. Areas of your life that used to be murky now demand clarity. You're no longer willing to operate without understanding. You want to know, not just do, but know why you're doing what you're doing. This intolerance for confusion is your spirit recognizing that confusion is costly. Confusion wastes resources. Confusion delays progress. Confusion drains energy. As knowledge increases, tolerance for operating without it decreases. Chosen one, if these signs are present in your life, revelation is happening. The knowledge behind your wealth is being downloaded. Your job is not to manufacture it, it's already arriving. Your job is to recognize it, receive it, record it, and eventually apply it. Now let me explain more deeply why God reveals knowledge before releasing provision. This understanding will help you navigate the current season with peace instead of frustration. Money without knowledge disappears quickly. This is not theory, it is observable pattern. Studies consistently show that lottery winners, sudden inheritance recipients, and those who receive windfalls without preparation end up worse off than before within a few years. The money arrived, but the knowledge to manage it didn't. And money always follows knowledge, not the reverse. This pattern is so consistent that it should be studied more seriously. Why do people who receive sudden wealth so often lose it? It's not that they're less intelligent. It's not that they don't want to keep it. It's that they lack the knowledge framework that would allow them to steward it. They don't understand timing. They don't understand people. They don't understand systems. They don't understand themselves well enough to avoid self-sabotage. Knowledge creates a container. Without the container, wealth pours out as quickly as it pours in. With the container, wealth accumulates, grows, and compounds. I want you to consider some examples that illustrate this principle. Think about professional athletes who earn millions of dollars in their 20s and are bankrupt in their 30s. The money was abundant, the knowledge to steward it was absent. The money followed the knowledge, or in their case, followed the lack of knowledge right out of their possession. Think about those who inherit wealth from family members who worked hard to build it. The first generation creates wealth through knowledge earned over decades. The second generation maintains it through knowledge passed down. But often by the third generation the knowledge has been lost, and the wealth follows the knowledge into absence. This pattern is not coincidental. It reveals a fundamental truth about how wealth operates. Knowledge creates wealth that sustains. When you understand how to generate value, you can always generate income. When you understand timing, you know when to invest and when to wait. When you understand people, you avoid the relationships that drain resources. When you understand your purpose, you stop wasting on distractions. This knowledge doesn't just create wealth once, it creates wealth repeatedly. It becomes a well you can draw from continuously, rather than a pool that depletes with each withdrawal. God doesn't give what the mind cannot hold. This is a principle I've seen operate consistently. Heaven's provision is always matched to heaven's preparation. Resources arrive in proportion to the capacity to steward them, and capacity is primarily a matter of knowledge. This is not God being cruel or withholding. This is God being merciful. Giving resources before knowledge would not be blessing, it would be burden. It would create stress rather than peace, chaos rather than order, destruction rather than building. Imagine giving a child the keys to a powerful car before they've learned to drive. The car is not a blessing, it's a danger. The blessing becomes available only after the knowledge to handle it has been developed. God operates the same way with financial resources. He doesn't release what would harm due to lack of preparation. The season that felt like waiting was actually education. I need you to understand this because it reframes everything you've experienced. The years when provision seemed delayed were not years of heaven forgetting you. They were years of heaven educating you. Every challenge was a curriculum. Every difficulty was a lesson. Every struggle was developing knowledge you would need. When you look back at the waiting season through this lens, you stop seeing wasted time. You start seeing invested time. You stop seeing delay. You start seeing development. You stop seeing neglect. You start seeing education designed specifically for your assignment. I experienced this reframe in my own journey. There was a season when I was frustrated by what seemed like endless waiting for financial breakthrough. But during that exact season, I was learning things I couldn't have learned any other way. My understanding of systems was developing. My discernment about people was sharpening. My clarity about purpose was forming. When provision finally arrived, I realized I would have destroyed it if it had come earlier. The knowledge I gained during the waiting was exactly what I needed to steward the resources when they came. The waiting wasn't punishment, it was preparation. Chosen one, this is your story too. The knowledge that has been developing in you during the apparent delay is the very knowledge that will protect, multiply, and direct the wealth when it arrives. God wasn't withholding provision, He was building capacity. And capacity always precedes release. Let me be more specific about the types of knowledge that God reveals to those He is preparing for wealth. Because understanding what categories are being downloaded helps you recognize and organize the revelation you're receiving. First, God reveals knowledge about your specific purpose. Not purpose in a vague, general sense, but precise understanding of what you're designed to accomplish. The problems you're meant to solve, the people you're meant to serve, the contribution you're meant to make. This purpose knowledge has been clarifying for you, perhaps gradually, perhaps in sudden moments of insight. You understand yourself better now than you did a few years ago. You see your strengths more clearly. You recognize your unique contribution more precisely. This isn't random self-awareness, it's revealed knowledge about divine design. Purpose knowledge is essential because it focuses resources. When you know exactly what you're building, you stop wasting money on things that don't serve that building. When you know who you're called to serve, you stop expending energy trying to reach everyone. Purpose creates focus, and focus multiplies effectiveness. Second, God reveals knowledge about divine timing. This is perhaps the most subtle and most valuable revelation. You're learning when to act and when to wait, when to speak and when to be silent, when to pursue and when to allow things to come, when to invest and when to conserve. This timing knowledge often arrives as intuition rather than explicit instruction. You feel peace about waiting when your logic says move. You feel urgency to act when your comfort says stay still. These feelings, when they're consistent and aligned with wisdom, are revelations about timing. I've learned to pay attention to these inner promptings because timing determines outcome more than almost any other factor. The right action at the wrong time produces wrong results. The right action at the right time produces exponential results. Third, God reveals knowledge about people. He shows you who is assigned to your journey and who is not, who can be trusted with your vision and who will leak it, who will celebrate your success and who will be threatened by it, who gives counsel that serves your best interest and who gives advice that serves their own agenda. This people knowledge is essential because relationships can accelerate or devastate wealth more dramatically than almost any other factor. The right connections multiply opportunities exponentially. The wrong connections drain resources relentlessly. You may have noticed that your discernment about people has sharpened significantly. People you once trusted now give you hesitation. People you once overlooked now seem more significant. This reshuffling of relational perception is not random. It's revelation preparing you for the season ahead. Fourth, God reveals knowledge about systems, how industries work, how value flows, how problems create opportunities, how solutions create wealth, how markets function, how influence operates. This systems knowledge allows you to see patterns others miss, to recognize opportunities before they become obvious, to position yourself where growth is happening rather than where extraction has already occurred. You may have noticed that you understand how things work better than you used to, not just in your specific field, but in adjacent areas as well. This expanded understanding is revelation about systems that will serve your wealth creation and protection. Fifth, God reveals knowledge about yourself, your strengths and weaknesses, your patterns and tendencies, your triggers and blind spots, your gifts and limitations. This self-knowledge is crucial because lack of self-awareness is one of the fastest ways to lose wealth. Those who don't know their weaknesses are exploited through them. Those who don't know their strengths underutilize them. Those who don't know their patterns repeat destructive cycles unconsciously. You may have experienced significant growth in self-awareness recently. Patterns you once repeated unconsciously are now visible. Weaknesses you once denied are now acknowledged. Strengths you once undervalued are now appreciated. This isn't just maturity, it's revelation about yourself that will serve your stewardship. Sixth, God reveals knowledge about spiritual principles, how faith operates, how obedience produces provision, how generosity multiplies return, how patience produces results that impatience cannot access, how trust positions you for blessing that striving cannot manufacture. This spiritual knowledge is the foundation beneath all other knowledge. It ensures that your wealth remains connected to its divine source, rather than becoming an idol that replaces dependence on God. Anointed one, these 6 categories of knowledge have been developing in you, some more than others, some faster than others, but all of them have been growing, and collectively they form the intellectual and spiritual infrastructure that your wealth will rest upon. Now let me give you practical guidance for how to receive and retain the revelation that is arriving, because revelation can be lost if it's not properly captured and integrated. First, cultivate quietness. Revelation arrives most clearly in stillness. When your mind is filled with noise, constant content consumption, endless activity, perpetual distraction, there's no space for revelation to land. Creating regular moments of silence is not luxury, it's necessity for receiving what God wants to give. This doesn't require hours of meditation, it requires intentional pockets of stillness where your mind can settle and your spirit can receive. Morning moments before the day's demands begin, evening pauses before sleep, brief windows of quiet during the day. These pockets become the landing strips where revelation arrives. I had to learn this lesson through experience. There were seasons when my life was so filled with noise that revelation couldn't land. It was attempting to arrive. I could sense it at the edges of my awareness, but there was no space for it to settle. When I finally created regular stillness, the revelation that had been waiting poured in. Second, document what you receive. Write down the insights, ideas, and understanding that arrive. Don't trust your memory to retain revelation that arrives unexpectedly. If it's significant enough to be revealed, it's significant enough to be recorded. I cannot overemphasize this. Some of the most valuable knowledge I've received would have been lost if I hadn't written it down immediately. Revelation often arrives as a complete thought that feels unforgettable in the moment, but fades within hours if not captured. Document everything. Keep a notebook. Use your phone's notes app. Record voice memos. Use whatever method works for you. But capture revelation when it arrives, because it often won't repeat itself in the same form. Third, do not share prematurely. This is wisdom that many ignore to their detriment. Not everyone needs to know what God is revealing to you. Some revelation is specifically for you, to be applied in your life without requiring anyone else's validation or agreement.
When you share revelation prematurely, you often receive doubt in return. People who haven't received what you've received will question it. Their questions can weaken your confidence in what you were given. Guard revelation until you've integrated it sufficiently that others' opinions cannot shake your foundation. There's a time to share what you've learned, but that time is usually after the revelation has produced fruit, not before. When results have validated the knowledge, then testimony becomes powerful, but premature sharing often aborts what could have grown into much more. Fourth, apply immediately what can be applied. Revelation that isn't acted upon tends to fade. Knowledge that isn't applied tends to leak. When you receive insight that has immediate application, apply it immediately. This application doesn't have to be dramatic. Small applications of revealed knowledge compound over time, and each application reinforces the neural pathways that make the knowledge permanent rather than temporary. If you receive insight about timing, apply it to your next decision. If you receive discernment about a person, adjust that relationship accordingly. If you receive understanding about a system, position yourself based on that understanding. Application anchors revelation. Fifth, expect progressive revelation. God doesn't usually reveal everything at once. He reveals what you need for your current step, then reveals more as you take that step. Expect the knowledge to come in layers that build on each other, rather than complete downloads that cover everything at once. This progressive nature of revelation requires patience. You won't understand everything immediately, but each piece that arrives prepares you for the next piece. Trust the process. I've learned to appreciate this progressive nature, even though it sometimes frustrated me in earlier seasons. I wanted to know everything immediately. I wanted the complete picture right now, but God in His wisdom revealed piece by piece, and each piece was exactly what I needed for the phase I was in. Looking back, I can see why full revelation would have overwhelmed me. The complete picture would have been too large to process. The total knowledge would have been impossible to integrate. But piece by piece, layer by layer, the understanding became mine, and now what seemed incomplete at each stage has formed a comprehensive framework. This is how revelation works. It builds, it accumulates, it compounds. Each piece prepares capacity for the next piece, and eventually the pieces form a complete picture that enables the wealth manifestation to occur. Sixth, test revelation against wisdom. Not every thought that arrives is divine revelation. Some thoughts come from your own reasoning, some come from external influences, some come from places less aligned. Test what arrives against established wisdom, against scripture, against the counsel of proven advisors, against the fruit that previous similar thoughts have produced in your life. Revelation that is genuinely from God will align with wisdom, not contradict it. Chosen one, these practices will help you receive and retain the knowledge that is being revealed. The revelation is arriving. Your role is to create the conditions for it to land well and stay permanently. Let me explain the direct connection between the revelation you're receiving and the wealth manifestation that is approaching. Because these are not separate processes, they are connected parts of one process. When knowledge reaches completion, manifestation arrives naturally. This is not metaphor, it's observable pattern. When your understanding of an opportunity becomes complete, you suddenly see how to act on it. When your discernment about a person becomes clear, you know whether to invest in that relationship. When your clarity about timing becomes precise, you move with confidence that produces results. Knowledge is not just preparation for wealth. Knowledge creates wealth. Ideas that arrive with clarity become products, services, and solutions that generate income. Discernment that recognizes opportunity becomes investment that produces return. Understanding that perceives needs becomes offerings that attract resources. The revelation you're receiving is not just getting you ready for wealth that will arrive from somewhere else. The revelation itself is the seed of the wealth. The ideas God is giving you are the ideas that will generate resources. The understanding He's developing is the understanding that will protect and multiply those resources. This is why the revelation season is so important. It's not just prerequisite, it's foundation. The quality of the knowledge determines the quality of the wealth. Shallow knowledge produces shallow wealth that disappears quickly. Deep knowledge produces deep wealth that remains and multiplies. I've watched this connection operate in my own life and in the lives of others. When revelation arrived with clarity, manifestation followed with precision. When understanding became complete in a particular area, opportunities emerged in that exact area. The knowledge attracted the wealth. The revelation created the manifestation. This is also why some people seem to attract wealth effortlessly while others struggle despite great effort. The difference is usually knowledge. Those who attract wealth effortlessly have received revelation that others haven't. They see what others miss. They understand what others don't comprehend. And that understanding draws resources with a magnetism that effort alone cannot match. Chosen one, the revelation arriving in your life is not just preparing you for wealth, it is creating the conditions for wealth. As the knowledge becomes complete, the manifestation will become inevitable. Your job is to receive the revelation fully. The manifestation will follow. Let me describe what the coming season will look like now that the knowledge is arriving. Because understanding what's ahead helps you walk into it with confidence rather than confusion. Decisions that used to take weeks will now take minutes. When knowledge is present, clarity follows. The same choices that used to paralyze you with uncertainty will become obvious, not because the choices became simpler, but because your understanding became deeper. This acceleration of decision-making is one of the first visible effects of received revelation. Opportunities will become recognizable instantly. As your discernment sharpens through revelation, you'll know almost immediately whether an opportunity is aligned with your assignment. The analysis that used to take extensive research will often become unnecessary. Your spirit will know, and that knowing will prove accurate. This doesn't mean you abandon wisdom or due diligence. It means the due diligence will confirm what you already sensed, rather than discovering what you didn't expect. Your intuition will lead, and evidence will follow. People will be categorized quickly. Your discernment about individuals will accelerate. You'll recognize who belongs in your inner circle, your outer circle, or outside your circle entirely. Relationships that would have consumed months or years of your life before you recognized their misalignment will be filtered much more quickly. Ideas will materialize with unusual speed. The thoughts that arrive as revelation will translate into tangible outcomes faster than your previous ideas ever did. Not because you're working harder, but because you're working from alignment. Aligned effort produces multiplied results. The same energy that produced little before will produce much now. Your words will carry more weight. As your knowledge deepens, your communication will naturally become more authoritative. People will listen differently when you speak, not because you're demanding attention, but because you're speaking from understanding that others sense even if they can't articulate it. Resources will begin responding to your clarity. This may be the most visible effect. As your vision becomes clear, resources will align with it. Finances, people, opportunities, favor. These elements will begin moving toward your clarified purpose in ways that feel less like coincidence and more like coordination. Anointed one, this is the season you're entering. The knowledge that has been revealed is about to produce visible fruit. The understanding that has been downloaded is about to generate tangible results. The revelation that arrived quietly is about to manifest loudly. Do not be surprised when things begin to accelerate. Do not be caught off guard when opportunities multiply. Do not be unprepared when resources begin flowing with unusual consistency. All of this is the natural fruit of the knowledge that has been planted in you. The seed of revelation produces the harvest of manifestation, and the harvest is approaching. You can sense it, you can feel it. Something is different now, something has shifted, and that shift is about to become visible in ways that confirm everything you've been sensing in your spirit. Your mind has been prepared, your understanding has been established, your discernment has been sharpened. You are ready, not because you feel ready, but because the preparation has been done. The knowledge is in place, and knowledge in place attracts wealth into place. Chosen one, as this message settles into your spirit, receive the truth that has been spoken over your life. The knowledge you need for your wealth has already been arriving. The understanding required for your assignment has already been downloading. The revelation necessary for your purpose has already been landing in your spirit, in moments of quietness, in unexpected insights, in clarity that arrived without clear cause. You have not been standing still during the waiting season. You have been learning, you have been receiving, you have been developing the intellectual and spiritual infrastructure that your wealth will rest upon. I speak continued revelation over your mind. May the insights continue to arrive. May the understanding continue to deepen. May the discernment continue to sharpen. May the knowledge continue to grow until it reaches the fullness that releases the manifestation it carries. I speak clarity over your vision. May you see with precision what you are meant to build. May you understand with exactness who you are meant to serve. May you recognize with certainty the opportunities that are aligned and the distractions that are not. I speak discernment over your relationships. May you know who belongs in your journey and who does not. May you recognize who will celebrate your success and who will be threatened by it. May you identify who offers wisdom and who offers only well-meaning confusion. I speak understanding over your timing. May you know when to move and when to wait. May you sense when to invest and when to conserve. May you discern when to speak and when to remain silent. I speak wisdom over your stewardship. May you know how to manage what arrives so that it grows rather than depletes. May you understand the difference between what builds and what only consumes. May you recognize the investments that multiply and the expenditures that drain. I speak protection over what is being revealed. May no enemy steal the knowledge that is being downloaded. May no distraction prevent the understanding from landing. May no doubt undermine the wisdom that is being established. What God is revealing, may nothing and no one remove. I speak connection over your journey. May the right people find you at the right times. May the aligned relationships form with ease. May those who carry pieces of your puzzle be drawn to you, and may you be drawn to them. I speak multiplication over your application. When you apply the knowledge you receive, may the results exceed what knowledge alone would produce. May divine favor amplify human application. May your efforts produce outcomes that cannot be explained by effort alone. The revelation has been arriving, the knowledge has been forming, the understanding has been developing, and now the manifestation that this knowledge creates is preparing to become visible. If this word has confirmed what God is already doing in your mind and spirit, subscribe to remain connected. Comment 777 as your declaration that you recognize the revelation and are positioning yourself to receive its fullness. Comment your city or nation as a marker of where divine knowledge is being established. Go forward, chosen one, in the revelation that has been given to you. The knowledge behind your wealth is no longer hidden, it is being revealed. And what is being revealed will create what you have been believing for. Walk in the understanding that has been given. Apply the wisdom that has arrived. Trust the discernment that has developed. Your wealth is not approaching randomly. It is following the knowledge that is leading it. And that knowledge is now yours. Let me speak one final thing over you. The transition from receiving knowledge to manifesting wealth is not a distant future event. It is an imminent reality. The foundation has been laid. The understanding has been established. The discernment has been sharpened. What remains is simply the natural unfolding of what has already been planted. You are not hoping for revelation to begin. It has begun. You are not waiting for knowledge to arrive. It has arrived. You are standing at the threshold where knowledge becomes manifestation, where understanding becomes provision, where wisdom becomes wealth. This is your moment. This is your season. This is your time. The knowledge behind your wealth is no longer hidden. It has been revealed, and you have received it. Now walk in it, apply it, trust it, and watch as the resources that follow knowledge begin to follow you. Go forward, chosen one. The revelation is complete. The manifestation is next, and it is closer than you think. Your season of receiving has prepared you. Your season of manifesting begins now. Walk forward, chosen one. The knowledge is within you. The wealth is before you, and the God who revealed the knowledge will release the wealth. It is finished in the spirit. It is forming in the natural, and soon, very soon, it will be visible to all. This is your word. This is your moment. This is your time. Receive it. Walk in it, and watch what God does next.